To start this, I want to tell you that I'm not competing with all the wonderful canners that are here in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
This is an amateur who is only giving you a recipe from 2,000 years ago. So there's none of this boil, schmoil. It's strictly very old-fashioned and very simple.
In other words, we're not responsible if we get botulism. No, we boiled everything, sorry.
Beforehand. All right, I like to start. You want to cook first?
I'll just start this first, and then we can do the other canning, which is a little easier. I don't know if anybody tried. I made a plum jam. I made 2 jams. I made a strawberry jam, which it's called a soft strawberry jam, and I wasn't really crazy about it. It was really sweet, and I cut down the amount of sugar that it originally called for. But I made a plum jam, and it was kind of like an accident. I wasn't planning to do it. I happened to be on the phone with Mary Laura, and she was talking about plums, and they have their own pectin in them, so you don't need to put pectin. And then that day, my refrigerator in my house froze a big thing of plums, so I wound up making plum jam, and I actually was really happy with it. It really came out well. I don't know if you guys tried it over there, but I'm just going to show you how I went about that. I didn't follow a recipe. I just kind of threw it together after speaking with Mary, and it worked out fine. I was happy with it. So you take the plums. These aren't, I got these yesterday. They're not extremely ripe. I couldn't find anything that was really soft. You just put a little slice in the top of them, and I'm going to drop them in boiling water. Same type of thing that you do with a tomato when you want to skin it, and you let it boil for a minute, and then the skin becomes soft. You're able to take the skin off easier. So that's the first process. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to cut them up, and I'm going to take the water out of the pot, and then I'll just cook it down with some sugar. And while I'm doing that, Pauline is going to can some pickles and some, no, we're not doing, just pickles.
Just pickles,
Okay.
just cucumber.
And if you have any questions, just raise your hand, and we'd be more than happy to try to answer you.
As I said, these are not my garden cucumbers. We had a little problem this year. We couldn't find cucumbers because Josephine was supposed to go down and get them from the farmer's market. And when she went down, he says, oh, the end of the season, there is none. So we searched and searched and searched. Well, anyway, I went up to my daughter's house in Rhode Island, and I told her of my dilemma. We went to 4 gardens before we found enough to make the pickles. These are from Apple Farm yesterday, so they're not garden, but anyway. Simply, I like to put my garlic in first, and my spices, because afterwards it's tough to get all the stuff in, because these little cuties, this coriander, rises to the top and then it's tough. So I decided that I'd like to put 2 of these little babies into all these little jars, and then I slice up these cute little. But there's a method to my madness. And the secret to all of this is that wonderful, these are big, that's why we have to slice them, because I've already washed my hands, as you can see with my wipe it. What did I say we needed here, Joe? 1 cup, 1 whatever. See, we didn't measure. We just put it in, so.
This is Pauline's family recipe, but we have it written down. Don't worry if anybody comes.
For whatever we need.
Nervous under the camera.
Down. So you shouldn't make a mistake. I mean, you know, in my house we didn't measure, you just put
It's
a
2 cups vinegar to 1 cup.
We're going to get to that. I'm doing the spice.
Oh, the spices, you want me to read it to you? Okay.
This is coriander.
Well, you did 1 coriander?
1 coriander.
1 teaspoon coriander, 1 teaspoon peppercorn, and a teaspoon mustard seed.
Ah, you don't need all these spices.
Should we tell them where we purchase it? It's hard to find a certain
No,
seasonings?
either an Indian store or the Armenian store on Central Avenue. Unless you want to go to Brooklyn or Danbury.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody knows, there's a little store on the end of Central Avenue And you can go in there, they have all kinds of things from that area of the world. You can buy all kinds of seeds and different kinds of grains, spices, figs, they have all
Which
different.
store is that?
I don't know.
Yarnouche. The name of it is Yarnouche. Y-A-R-N-U-S-C-H. It's next to where?
Is that by TJ Maxx?
It's
No,
down, it's at the
before.
beginning.
at the-
It's a little tiny,
By the car wash?
right before the car wash, right before the car wash.
Yeah. It has a blue awning. Okay, how far are we getting? I'm going to do one job. Here we go. Jar of this. The reason I'm sparing them is because these are small jars and these are big pickles and they're not going to fit unless I do that. So here we go.
Are those seedless pickles, seedless?
These are Kirby cubes. These are called Kirby cubes.
And we have all the recipes, we wrote all the recipes down.
And
So
you
there's some
know,
sheets there.
we also, Josephine found a wonderful recipe for that squash, because I'm sure you all had squash coming out of the kazoo by the time the summer finished.
It's called zucchini chips, and it's in that small little jar there, and it's sweet and hot zucchini chips. And you use vinegar with sugar, and the recipe's there. You boil it with some mustard seeds, salt, and red pepper, and then you let it sit over 24 hours. And then after it gets like hot, it gets more heat. But it's just like, you're not going to have that regularly, you're not going to have it as a side dish, but you're going to put it on something, a sandwich or a hamburger. But it was just something really neat, something different to try. And when you first try it, it's sweet. And then like about 30 seconds later, you feel the heat of it. And the longer it sits in your refrigerator, the hotter it gets. But it was just something fun, and it looks nice.
And it's delicious.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I made it, I tried it out on Ellen and Rachel and them, and Ellen, I had to make her another jar. She really liked it. So I guess if it's your taste and you like that. So they're over there. We actually put some different things out that we made, the pickles and the pickled tomatoes and the zucchini. And then behind us, we also did, Pauline pickled some cauliflower.
Cauliflower, turnips. In the winter, there is no fresh fruits and vegetables. So in the old days, they had to do all of this at the end of the season so that they would have some kind of vegetable for the winter. Of course, I haven't done this in, I can't tell you how many years. But it so happened, last year my son decided to put up a garden. So he put up an acre. He didn't realize what an acre would do. So at the end of the season, he brought me a bushel of green tomatoes. And I said, what am I supposed to do with this? He says, I remember you and Grandma used to make pickles. I says, okay, we'll try. So I made the pickles, but I said, what am I going to do? We're only 2 people at home. What are we going to do with all these? I mean, I can distribute, and I did. But it so happened I was having Thanksgiving that year. And I says, this will be great. So I laid it all up on the table. And as they came in and as they left, I served the pickles with everything else. And one young man came in. He was new to the family. And he sees these tomatoes and he says, oh my God, green tomatoes, pickled. He says, I haven't seen them in 100 years. So he proceeded and he ate a whole jar. I said to him, sweetie, on your way home, would you take 2 jars? He says, may I? And of course, I got kissed and hugged and loved. And
She's been making them ever since now.
no, this year, again, he did the whole thing again. Only this year we got not only tomatoes, we got squash, and we got eggplant that was gorgeous. So I've been very busy.
Don't burn your fingers.
Now, here's the trick. Here's the major trick. How did you know I needed vinegar? It's 1 cup water.
You want me to?
Well,
You don't
anyway,
need those anymore, so it's okay. Give me those. We don't need them. We don't need them. Okay. Let go.
This is where the guesswork comes in now.
That's what we were doing. You should have seen us. We had a lot of fun.
open this.
You want me to pour it?
No, I can pour it.
It's just high. I know you can
It's
pour
a little
it. The
bit
shelf is
high.
high.
I see, I use the sink, it's easier. There we go, and 2 cups of vinegar. 1, 2,
Oh, 2 vinegar.
2 vinegar, 2 to 1. You see, yeah, my mother used to say 2 to 1, 3 to 1, and things like that, and I never knew what that meant. Ugh. Very difficult. God love her, because when she died, everybody wanted, do this, make this, and there was no recipe. It was 1 to 2, 2 to 1. So it took my brother 20 years to make the cakes that she used to make. I can't tell you how many. Now, here's the surprise. Here comes the little egg. Egg? How do we measure salt? Well, my measuring cup got shot to hell.
Oh, you want me to rinse that out?
That's all right, we're gonna do it this way.
All right, now we're going to be like,
This is gonna be the real old-fashioned way.
it's usually a 1/4 cup and a tablespoon, so.
Yeah, but the thing got a little messed up. I mean, it would have sterilized itself with the salt. We want to be very precise here because I don't want you to think that way. When the egg floats is when you have enough salt. Oh, look at that.
See that?
When the egg floats.
Now, that's just a raw egg, right?
Yeah, raw.
Just raw egg.
Raw egg. See the egg floats?
When the egg floats, it means,
You have enough salt.
okay.
If you don't have enough salt, the pickle gets mushy. You don't want mushy, you want them crisp.
Very good. Gotcha.
Crisp, crisp, crisp. Now before you pour, you remove the egg.
She wasn't going to talk. She told me she wasn't talking. She hasn't spoken.
All right, now don't fill it up all the way to the top, kids. 3/4, let it settle for a little bit, because then they'll all squash down by themselves. And another 5-10 minutes, by the time Josephine is finished with her thing, then we can put the tops on. And it's that simple. We don't can, we don't boil, we don't nothing. This is it. Well, we do everything like that, whether it's cauliflower, string beans, peppers, all kinds of goodies.
What is the shelf life?
Pardon?
The shelf life, how long will it?
We leave them out for 3 days, and then we put them in the refrigerator or a cool place.
And how long?
Forever. I don't think they're gonna last though, you know.
I know with my stuff, I did some, every year I do tomatoes. I just brought one to show you guys. We do it like, I have a big machine that takes the skin and the seeds out. But this, every once in a while you get one that's wasn't closed right and it goes bad. But these last I keep them in my garage and they're probably, I use them within 8 or 9 months a year and they're fine. And
I have for 3 years.
yeah, for 2 years and they're good. And then I also made some, this is how I started not that I'm a canner because I'm not, I really don't know what I'm doing. Go ahead, Barbara.
No, go ahead.
But I started making hot cherry peppers because I couldn't buy them in the store. So I found them at the market, and actually this year and the year before I grew them because we sold them at the garden club sales, which was great. But I started doing it because of that, and then I realized how easy it was. You just put vinegar and salt in it, and you know, the washed cherry peppers, and those things hold for a few years. So it just depends, you know, how you're holding it. If you keep it in an area that its temperature doesn't really change, you don't want to keep anything in a warm area. It has to be, you know, cooler.
Jeremy, you don't sterilize, you don't put...
No, we sterilize, yeah.
Oh, but I mean...
No, you know what? I'm going to tell you the truth, and
Yeah.
people are going to see this on television and have a heart attack. One of my girlfriend's families, the Roma family, where I live in Thornwood, they do this every year. This year they did 1,100 pounds of tomatoes, and the mother said, no, it's sterilized. And truthfully, when I do the tomatoes this year, I did it with my whole family, my brothers and sisters, and we did sterilize, but I've done it before, and I don't, because you're boiling, the sauce is being boiled down, it's really hot, and I put it in, and they haven't done it, they're all still alive, they've been doing it forever, so, I mean, I'm just following in their footsteps with that.
I think the important thing is that they have to be things that are very acidic.
Right, yeah, it depends, like the jams and stuff, all this stuff, we sterilize all this stuff.
Yeah.
before we
You
do it.
said once in a while.
And then the other thing too,
Like say it's a jar of tomatoes.
I had,
I had a question about, you said once in a while a jar is not good. Like say it's a jar of tomatoes.
I had it
How do
happen
you know-
once.
How do you know?
it's
though?
got, it's got
Has
film on
mold
top, like a
it,
mold
so
on
the
top.
top coming off is the same?
They probably, when they close it, they didn't close it right, or then I just read something in one of the books that said, don't reclose it, so that could have been, and now I have to see, because my brother was reclosing every top because he said they were not tight afterwards. So you probably break the seal when you turn it again, so that was, yeah, so that was.
You know, there's two books here that I bought, thinking I didn't know how to make pickles. And I didn't learn too much, but I mean, all I learned is it's a lot of work doing it this way. So I did it my way. We've been doing it for thousands of years. And then I bought a book about spices and ailments and remedies and all of that. And I'm reading through it and I'm saying, but we did this as kids. My parents, my grandmother used to give us all these recipes, and we didn't go to the doctor every 10 minutes. I think the first doctor I ever went to was when I needed an injection to go overseas. We all had home remedies. My grandmother lived to over 100. She used to have for breakfast 1 garlic clove. That's after she went to church and knelt up and down and did her exercise. Because by the time she came home, first she walked the 10 blocks. And she often said, what is it they say in church? Mercianos, mercianos. She said, I couldn't understand that word. So I went to church with her one day, and I'm listening. And she nudges me and she says, that's what they say. I says, have mercy on us. Because you know she didn't speak English. Have mercy on us. But then she'd come home and have little garlic, squash it all up in a loaf of bread. She lived through 100. No ailments.
Well, there's definitely a lot of garlic in everything we made.
Oh,
so
yeah.
far. And
Whatever fits.
Because if they're fat, you know, how can you tell? You know, according to that thing, it says buy 7 pounds of this and 10 pounds of that.
I think in the small jars, it was like 2.5 of the size that we had. That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
Now, what are you doing, Josephine?
Well, I was taking the plum skin didn't come off this as easy as they did at my house. That was, because it was different plums. I had those big purple, you know, I forgot what they're called. They were there. I just cut it up. I'm cooking it down a little. And
Add water?
excuse me?
You add water?
No, you don't need water because it actually has a, plums aren't as bad. The strawberries, when I cooked it down, it got really, really wet. It was really wet. And this you don't have to use pectin for. And I'm gonna put, once it cooks down a little bit, I'll put sugar in it, but we probably, I think she'll shut that off. I think we're only 15 minutes on there. So, it's really pretty easy, and I'm not a canner. I can tomatoes and I can the hot peppers. I just started doing this because I also made some roasted tomatoes, which it's the first time I ever made them, but they were kind of wet, so I wanted to talk to my daughter again about what I did wrong.
Well, you can look it up in the book.
Okay. So if anybody knows how to make them, maybe they can tell me. I wanted those roasted tomatoes that are like, they're a little drier. These, I don't know if it was just the tomatoes in general because the end of the year.
Plum, you need plum.
Yeah, I used plum. Yeah, I used plum. She told me I could only use plum tomatoes. So we were just trying to find things from the yard. And I don't know about everybody else, but I've been adding to my garden every year. And I grew a ton of butternut squash this year, and I have tons. I mean, you can see this tomato. I'm sorry. This tomato's from my yard, and my son, who's 27, is kind of become the little old Italian guy. He's hysterical, and he actually was taking pictures of this when it was green and red and sending it to his friends. Checking the fig tree and doing all that. But anyway, we're having a good time. We're all bonding. And then butternut squash. I grew, these were so easy, and I have to thank Mary because I probably never would have grown them. I bought them, her husband grew them from seed 2 years ago. We had them at the plant sale. I took one home, and she told me that they just used the seed, so I saved them. It was the quickest plant I ever saw germinate. I put the seed in, and it was in like 2 days, 3 days, it germinated. And they're all over my yard. And when we were mowing the lawn, my son is telling me, pick up the, he had me pick up the vine. It was very, if anybody's watched it was just hysterical. And these are the end of the year hot cherry peppers. They're usually a little bigger than this, but we had them at the plant sale. I purposely bought a flat because I wanted to buy some, and I didn't know. I guess we pretty much sold them all, but they were really easy to grow. The deer didn't eat them. It was great. And this zucchini was from my yard. It's at the end where it's been a little colder out. But I just grew a bunch of stuff, and it was just a lot. It was a lot of fun. And my little nieces and nephews, when they came over, went out with their little, out there to pick all the tomatoes. So I mean, I think we're coming back to that again, and it's a lot of fun.
Another one of the plants that we had at the garden sale was the yellow tomatoes.
The which one? Oh, didn't you love those? The pear tomatoes?
Little yellow.
Yes, they're called pear tomatoes. I got those from Stewart's. They were great.
They were fabulous.
Yeah, they were great. I had tons of those too. Yeah. See, I think at the plant sale I wasn't there because I knew because I wasn't there. I wasn't able to tell people, get this, because I got a bunch of heirloom tomatoes from Stewart's. But if you really weren't looking at those little peat moss containers, you didn't really, and I didn't have all that information. I did have it, but it's too much for somebody to remember that didn't do the buying. So next year, hopefully, I can spread the word a little more. You can get those, because those grew really well. Good.
I haven't done it for a couple of years, so I used to do something similar to this. And at the end of the season, I used to pick the very little green tomatoes and little tiny peppers that we used to grow. And I used to put those up like you did. But what I did with the jar, I was wanting to know that I used to pour boiling water in all the jars and I leave it stand there to make sure they were
Well, that's the same thing as we put them in a big pot.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have the, where's my little, I have it too, like when you have they have all these canning things you can use. The big pots with the strainer that you put the jars and the tops in and you pull it up. And then I have this, which you can pull, you can do it on the side, you do it on the side or pull it up from the top, and this is when you're boiling the jars to sterilize them. So, I mean, you really should sterilize them. Some things, I don't, but you should. I'm just going to be truthful.
We used to put them into the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Around the dishwasher. It's now sterilized. You didn't have to go through
I have
this
another
pot.
question. You said you store them in your garage. Maybe it's heated, but is it dangerous if it freezes?
Oh, you can't freeze.
You can't freeze it.
Well, the vinegar probably won't freeze, but the tomatoes will freeze. But
It's the salt too, because the salt in the
yeah,
water.
in those, but I mean my garage, but I wouldn't do that anyway because if you freeze that stuff, it's not going to be good afterwards. The vegetable itself.
So when you store it, you never have a problem with it being too cold. I know you said it's not good to have it too hot, but what if?
My garage And
It never
pro-
gets too cold.
it never gets that cold. No, we have a heater in it, but I don't use it, but it probably doesn't get past below 50, 55, something like that.
Oh,
But you can put them anywhere. You can put them in your basement. You can put them in any
If
cooler
you're
area.
gonna put them in the garage and you think they're gonna freeze, put a blanket over it.
oh, okay. Put them to bed.
But it was just, I enjoyed doing it, and it sort of
It's
brought
a
my
fun
family
thing.
together to.
That's exactly, we used to do it as a family.
Yeah, everybody was taking jars and giving them away to their.
Oh,
I couldn't believe what was happening. My husband's walking out with the hot cherry pepper. How did you even find that? Because he doesn't notice anything. So it was kind of interesting that everybody realized that, you were doing something that was kind of unique that we're not used to. So, but
Going back to that, that's nice.
yeah, it was.
Well,
I
I'll
mean,
tell you, it's a wonderful way for families to get together.
Right.
Oh, we had
Especially
so much
children.
fun when we did this time we did it, all my brothers and sisters came with the kids. We had such a ball. It was really
And I
really
think the
hysterical.
children will
Oh,
remember
yeah,
that
it
for
was really
forever.
good. It was really good. So
Because look at me, I'm still
because
doing
I think
this.
like now, nowadays we just wind up, we're always rushing around, you don't really get together, so like a few times a year you do these big things, other than a holiday. Because a holiday sometimes, you're rushing around.
It's
This is just relaxed.
Yeah,
And it
and
was fun.
everybody's at ease and they're learning and they're having
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it was fun, it was a lot of fun.
And,
And the best work is when my teenage nieces and my little 8-year-old niece, they were like, they didn't stop. They were really good.
yeah.
So, and it's cooking down. It's going to take a little while. I'm not used to this burner, so I didn't want to burn it. And at home it cooked down relatively quickly. It really was a lot quicker. And then you add the sugar, and then what happens? I don't know if anybody's done this. The plums foamed up a lot, and I had to take the foam off. And then I just
This is a different plum.
it's a different plum, yeah. They didn't have what
I was talking about the Italian plums.
yeah, I didn't do those. Yeah. Well, the ones I made were the big red ones.
Little-
Okay.
Italian prunes.
She's supposed to be
like
my
a prune.
assistant. She's my boss. Let me tell you. She wants a lot. I have to say, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with Pauline, and she's very organized. I go there and she'd have everything ready, all the jars, because we did her house, all the jars out, everything ready. So it was fun. But does anybody?
Yeah, I noticed you turned the jars upside down and I didn't hear why.
I don't know why.
Your grandmother did it.
Roxanne, I'm not accustomed to this kind of a jar. I'm really accustomed to the one quart. And there you have that little lip where you can tuck it in. You can't tuck anything in here.
Right.
So, I did one some weeks ago. When I opened it up, the top was it hadn't done right.
Yeah.
So I decided that I would turn them upside down. This way, the coriander can jiggle back and forth.
Right.
And the bottoms somehow work this way. So that's why I did it.
Okay.
Pauline, how long does it take to go from that bright green to that dull green?
3
in the
days.
back?
I leave these out 3 days.
And then it'll look like the ones along the wall,
Yeah.
that quickly? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then they get like this.
And then how long do you usually let them stay to really get a nice sour taste?
Well, after 3 days, they've already 3 to 5 days at the most.
We made them 2 weeks. What did we do? 2 weeks ago? A week and a half ago?
A week and a half.
And if you taste the pickles over there,
There was one,
they have a bite to it. This
Yeah, I like real sour.
Well, those have dill in it,
yeah.
and these don't have dill in it. And then I have one jar if anybody likes that zucchini, the hot zucchini. And then I had one small thing of cherry peppers, that if anybody wants.
You can use any kind of spice you want. You could use mustard, you could use dill, you could, whatever type you like. We happen to like the coriander and the garlic.
And then I just wanted to know, I didn't have to.
You have the recipe for that?
Everything's here. There's 20 sheets there. If anybody else wants it, I can email it. It's on my computer. And the other thing, I didn't have a chance to look it up. I like half sour pickles, and I wanted to know what we do. Do you know? When you make that?
Anybody make half sour pickles?
But I'm going to look it up because I wanted to see how do you put less vinegar? I didn't have a chance to.
Less
to make-
vinegar?
Well, to make it not as sour. Half sour.
Oh, half sour.
You know, like the ones you get when you go to the deli, the Jewish deli. So.
don't know.
None of these things that you're making have to be heated again once they're sealed.
No, it's
You
done.
know, how, I thought you.
I heated the jams I did. I boiled those after I
Stick them in the water and.
Yeah, I boiled those. The other things you don't have to, especially with the vinegar. You can't even boil these anyway.
So they're just ready in 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days there.
When I was growing up, we lived across the street from a retired farm woman from the Midwest, and she taught my mom to make jams, make bread, and things like that. But she actually used to make her jams and just pour paraffin over them, and then put the lid on. And then when you rock the paraffin off, she always would say, well, there's some mold, just scrape it off. And you just
That's it. I'm telling you, right.
Right, if you take the top, she said you take the top off, the underneath is fine.
Exactly.
So that's interesting too. That's,
My mother used to, when she took the mold off, she says, penicillin.
well, that's that's what my father. Oh, it's a little green mold. I grew up like that. But the only thing is you just have to watch the tops. If you're, sometimes they get a little rusty, you're going to want to replace them. Even if there's a little rust, if you're going to reuse the jar and you think, oh, it's on the outside, I wouldn't use it. I would just get new and they sell them in burgers. They have the tops. You can buy the different sizes.
But we didn't have these fancy jars. Whatever jar was available is what we used. So instead of these fancy tops, we put the wax paper.
That's what I just said.
And then you tightened it up, but these are fancy jars.
Fancy jars. Anyway, it was fun working with Pauline. I don't know how we got in. I still don't know how
I'll
this
tell you
happened.
how. I'll tell you how. Last year, I went to luncheon with some of this group, and we were talking about my green tomatoes that my son gave me, and I told you I had done canning or pickling or whatever. Somehow this year, I missed one meeting. Somehow, somebody volunteered me to do this number. So this is just to remind you, never miss a meeting.
But we're all grateful that you volunteered.
I always like to work with somebody who knows what they're doing. So that's my motto. And I picked the right person because Pauline was great. We had a lot.
Yeah, but Josephine was.
And her son has the garden. I mean, what better thing to do?
Yeah.
But anyway, but it was
Josephine,
fun.
if you don't have a big garden, do you have any suggestions for how to buy?
Well, what if you come to my yard, I used to have a big garden way in the back, but the deer are so bad, I don't do that anymore. So I actually started planting on the back side of my pool, which it's kind of crazy, but I made this little brick wall, and then I just put the tomato plants in it going around, and the other things in it going around. So after a while, it looks crazy. It's all over the place. But that's what, I'm not using a lot. I'm probably not using more than, you've been in Betty's garden. I'm probably not using more space than Betty. And I have a lot of space, it's just, I want to keep the deer out. And it works fine.
You don't need a lot of space. You really don't need a lot of space.
I grow mine things in raised beds. You know, the 4 foot square, and if you want to do just a 4 by 4 foot square bed, it's amazing what you can grow. And in a raised bed, and it's intensive gardening, so you enrich it more, and you can grow one thing after another.
Exactly.
I grew arugula too that I had at the beginning of the year, all those, and the lettuce is so easy. I mean, you can plant that anyway.
You can plant that now.
You can plant it again now, that's really easy. But it was fun. But anyway, I think we're done. Everybody gets a general idea with this. It's almost cooking down. I'll let you see it and then put some sugar in it and let it finish up. So, and we have a jar for whoever wants pickles and green tomatoes.
And if you can test them here
Yeah.
and decide which jar you want to take. We have three kinds.
Yes.